To be or not to bop? That is the question. All right, welcome to part 2 of our deep dive into Howard McGhee on To Be or Not to Bop. Let's get right into it. We're going to start by listening to a recording of Howard McGhee on the tune Bebop with Charlie Parker. When I first heard this, I swore this. You could not tell me this wasn't Dizzy Gillespie. But over time, obviously, we learn and check out the records, read the liner notes. I was amazed when I found out that this wasn't Dizzy, because there's so many similar characteristics in their playing. He's hitting those high, unbelievable notes that usually only Dizzy is hitting, but Howard's got all of that as well. So yeah, let's check out Bebop. So even the way he blends with Bird and the way he plays the accents, it sounds like Dizzy. Of course, the great Charlie Parker. Some of you may wonder, why haven't I done a Charlie Parker episode yet? Don't worry. When I do a Bird episode, it's going to be big. So stay tuned for that. I have some very special plans for that. All right, let's jump ahead to Howard McGhee's solo. All right, so here's the solo that blew my mind. I couldn't believe it wasn't Dizzy when I was younger. All right, he's about to go upstairs. You know, it's interesting for me to listen to this now. You know, I was listening to this out of high school in my late teens, early 20s. And at the time, it sounded like Dizzy to me. But now that I'm much more schooled in this music and have a million more hours of listening, I actually hear Roy Eldridge now more than I hear Dizzy in this playing, which was his main influence. Howard McGhee on Bebop. All right, so this next one we're going to go over is none other than Max's Making Wax. Now, this is one of my favorite bebop heads, and if that sounds familiar to you and you checked out our episode on Miles Davis, I talk a lot about this tune and the origins of this particular tune. It has a lot of different names. Chance It, we talked about that before. Something for You, Max's Making Wax, but upon my deep dive of Howard McGhee, I also found that he recorded this as well under the name Dilated Pupils, which makes me think about they probably just were hanging so much all day, all night into the next day, and the pupils were dilated. I don't know, but there's all these interesting names for these bebop tunes. But let's hear Howard McGhee and his take on Max's Making Wax. And this is also from the period where he was with Bird in Los Angeles. Let's check it out. Now that's really hip right there. When you hear them playing it together, there's part of the melody that they're playing together, but then there's a clash. Now, I think part of that is because there are so many different versions and different ways that this particular tune, and this is really like a riff tune, this is like a bebop riff tune. There's a way that Howard McGhee's playing it that's a little bit different than how Bird is playing it. But I've heard it done both ways, but what we're hearing in real time is sort of a disagreement on how this melody goes. Let's check that out one more time. All right, so they play the bridge the same. All right, I got to play a little bit of Bird for you. I know it's a Howard McGhee episode, but it's Bird. It's the king. All right, here we go. Here's some Bird. One chorus. You know, it did sound like Bird was trying to figure out some things on this one, and they probably was like, let's add one more tune and let's play this one. But it's beautiful. It's just goes to show you that this language at this time when they were developing it was already growing and expanding, and there were different ways of playing these songs. And at the same time, it all comes together. It's their language, and they were doing it in real time. So very cool to hear the great Howard McGhee and Charlie Parker on Max's making. So very cool to hear the great Charlie Parker and the legendary Howard McGhee on Max's Making Wax. Let's go to the next track. All right, so this next track is entitled Boperation. This is probably one of the more well-known tracks that features Howard McGhee alongside his good friend he talked about, the great Fats Navarro. So on this track, Boperation, you can hear that camaraderie, that friendly rivalry between Fats Navarro and Howard McGhee on this one. This is one of the most difficult but beautiful bebop melodies. So here it is, Boperation. I might have to play along with this one. All right, let's see if I remember this one. All right, they trade. Here's Howard McGhee right there. Yeah, so we're listening to great Howard McGhee, Ernie Henry, Fats Navarro, Milt Jackson, Tad Dameron, Curly Russell, Kenny Clarke on the drums. The beautiful Boperation. Let's go to the next track. So really cool to hear Boperation, to hear Fats Navarro and Howard McGhee doing their thing on that. We hear so many similarities and synergy and love and great camaraderie on that track. That would go on to be one of the songs that you would consider if you were gonna play a song with another trumpet player. In fact, Woody Shaw and Freddie Hubbard recorded that along with the great Kenny Garrett on their trumpet record that they did together. This is another track I really love from that one. I'm going to play a little bit of it for you, and this one is called Double Talk. And this is again with Fats Navarro and Howard McGhee. That's Barry Clifford. Now, before we get into this part where they're trading a little bit, back in the Fats Navarro episode, I played you a clip of Howard McGhee talking about Fats Navarro, and he said that he loved that they both could play high. And so they're going to show you a little bit of that right here. Let's hear them trade a little bit. These ain't easy changes, boy. I also think it's worth noting that these guys can play double A's, they can play double C's, they can play high, they can play loud, they can play fast, but they're choosing to play beautiful melodic passages. Woo, there we go. Howard McGhee. Oh, come on, there it is. Now they're turning on the pots. But no more of that pretty for the people stuff. That's Double Talk, Fats Navarro, and the legendary Howard McGhee. So now this last track that we're going to focus on, whenever I think about Howard McGhee and when I'm on a bandstand and I kind of want to go in that direction, I play this particular piece. This is a ballad he wrote entitled You're Teasing Me. And not only is it a beautiful, simple composition, but his touch, his treatment of how he plays a ballad is top notch. Unfortunately, we never got to hear too much Fats Navarro playing ballads, but I imagine since their styles were so similar, there was some synergy in terms of approach. You definitely hear the Dizzy Gillespie, Roy Eldridge influences, but I feel we hear Howard McGhee's voice on this one so clearly. You're Teasing Me. That soft, subtle, beautiful tone. Delicate. Like I said before, he has all the power, all the range in the world, but he chooses to be selective in how and when to turn up the heat. Duke Jordan on this one, Percy Heath on the bass, and my man Philly Joe Jones on the drums, and Sahib Shahab on saxophone on the rest of the record. I love that ballad style. You're Teasing Me by the great Howard McGhee. We'd like to thank you so much for watching this episode of To Be or Not to Bop. We hope you enjoyed this part 2 of our deep dive into Howard McGhee and his great music. If you haven't seen part 1, make sure to click on it and watch that one. You can watch it in whatever order you want. We appreciate you so much. Don't forget to like, comment, share, and subscribe. We'll see you soon. Peace. To be or not to bop? That is the question.